It is time for another round of the Mystery Box Challenge, and this month's theme is For the Love of Fall.
3, 2, 1!
Hey everyone, welcome back to White Sparrow Living Luke 12:6. I'm Wendy, and I'm so excited because I've just received my box from the person who sent it to me. If you're not familiar with the Mystery Box Challenge, it's so much fun. We have different crafters that Courtney has put together. She'll assign one creator to send a box to somebody, they send a box to somebody else, and so on and so forth, and then somebody else sends a box to them. It's one big happy circle of mystery love. So this time I got my box from Jennifer over at Little Bit of Calm and Crazy, and I sent my box to Whitney over at Whiskey and Wit. So there's a whole bunch of nuances to this month's Mystery Box Challenge. We had certain things that we had to send to each other. Something that's made out of wood, something pumpkin, something orange, some sort of fabric, a fall floral, and then 3 items of our choice. And those aren't super hard, but then we get to the challenge items, and one thing has to be something from out of our garage, and the other was something from the beauty section. Gosh, that's a lot to remember. But she did send us a cheat sheet, so we were able to shop with this. So we have the items we're supposed to send, then we have the challenge items, then we have a twist. And the twist this month is to create a DIY inspired by the fall theme you've been assigned. So Courtney was super sweet with me, and she assigned me Thanksgiving. Yes, Courtney. So I'm really excited to see what Jennifer sent me. This is the cutest card I have ever seen. I need glasses. Here's the card. Look at how cute. It's got a little vintage hot air balloon in there. Did you make this, Jennifer? Okay, so it says, Wendy, I love being able to send you a mystery box and see what wonderful things you will create. I know you will crush it. You always do. Happy crafting, sweet friend, Jen. Yay! I want to frame this little card. All right, so I have a feeling that this is the something out of wood, something made of wood. Super cute, because that could also be something pumpkin. Oh, she's marked some of these here. Oh, something fun just for you. And it's a little, how sweet it is, a little journal, trust in the Lord. And it's a little notebook. Look how fun, that's so sweet. It says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy paths. Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Oh, I love this, Jennifer. Thank you. Okay, so pretty much it's going to be hard to tell. Oh my gosh, these are adorable. So we have some window decorations. This could be the something pumpkin. Are you kidding? Cool. This is so cute. Dollar Tree Plus. Can you guys see it? A double-tiered tray. Oh yeah, I haven't seen these. Our Dollar Tree Plus, I think they're all kind of different, but man, I don't know, I kind of got into the Dollar Tree a little bit late for the fall season. I actually was doing Christmas in July because remember I said I didn't have anything really to use for Christmas in July. So I made myself not look at the fall stuff. Now I go back and it's all just wiped out. So note to self and to you, if you see it, grab it. Okay. That doesn't work out your fruit of self-control, but you don't want to be without it if you really like it. Okay. Okay, I think this would be, oh, this is cute. Elastic, I think this is the something orange. Okay, here's the fall stem. These are really pretty. I love these colors. Super pretty, Jennifer. Okay, and then this little harvest decor. These are little teeny weeny. How sweet. I did not see these. Teeny weeny little pumpkins. So that could be the pumpkin too. Okay, this one I do know is the fabric. Oh, these are pretty. So super sweet fabric. Okay, beautiful. This is going good so far. So let's see, Cinder's Choice number 1. Well, no, number 2, because the tray would be number 1. Oh, yay! Sweet little pumpkin. Oh, he goes on his side. Look how cute. Oh, so sweet. I love these colors. You can't see it though. so sweet. I love these. These fit in here too. Nice. I think she knows my colors. Okay, challenge item number 1, random item from my garage. I am loving the theme of your wrapping and the card. It's all very vintage and pretty. And then look at the colors. So, oh, she is really color coordinated here. Something random from the garage. Okay, this is very random. It is a little like socket thingy. Not socket, what is that? I wonder if this would actually work. I wish I knew an electrician who could help me out. So that's the item from your garage. Very good, Jennifer. Okay, this one's stapled. This is going to be from the beauty aisle. Oh, goodness. It's a makeup blending brush. Well, it's a little foamy teardrop in green, infused with green tea oil. Oh dear, I might just use this as a makeup sponge. I love this box. This is so good, Jennifer. So now I just have to come up with what we're gonna do and then we'll be back. Oh, I was supposed to mention also, I did not know this was happening, but apparently there's some kind of voting mechanism that has evolved into the mystery box challenge. I'm a little overwhelmed with elections right now, but I will have that linked in the description box below. There's a little cheat sheet that you can go through that tells you all the different categories that Courtney's come up with to judge and vote. But yeah, so I'm going to come up with some stuff and then I will be right back. So let's get started. I forget what I normally do. For this project, we're going to be using 6 of these crates from the Dollar Tree, and these are the ones that have the little handles on the side, and then 4 of these crates that have the little slices in between. This one I had already painted from another project. I don't even remember what it was, but I'm going to use that. That was the last one I had. So I'm going to take my big crates, those are the ones that we have 6 of, and I'm going to use some permanent adhesive as well as some hot glue and put those right on top of one another. And I'll do that for all 6 of those. And you guys can tell I'm super stuffy. We went to Chicago this weekend to visit my son and his little family. Got lots of souvenirs, including this cold. So I am so sorry that I am so stuffy, and I'm sure it's probably very annoying. So now I'm going to make letters out of these. I'm going to take one of the smaller crates and put that down as an L. You see what I'm doing here? Now I do want the fronts of these to be flush with each other, and so that means that there's going to be a little gap in the back, but you can see it's all lining up, and now we've got 2 L's. And then for the F, I'm going to put the top one there, and then the second one, the second part of the F, I'm going to attach that right about in the middle, a little bit further down, but you see what I'm doing here. Now we have FLL. So I was going to stain these, but decided I'm going to go ahead and paint it white instead. I thought that would be a little easier and take less time. I took it outside first and had them spray painted. I didn't like the color, but I think this is a better way to do it anyways, just so that you can get the stuff in between, you know, the little openings. And when you go back with your white chalk paint, there's not as many areas that look like they're missed. So I need to make my F stand up straight so it's not side heavy. So I'm going to use this little bottle. I don't even know where I got it, but it fit perfectly in here. And then I'm going to take the greenery. This is not greenery. This is, I don't know, fowlery. And it's going to go in through that little handle, in between the 2 crates there, and then right into the bottle. And then I'm going to take those lower little leaves. This is like a eucalyptus, I guess, that Jennifer sent me, and I'm going to put those a little bit below that handle or that opening there so that it goes all throughout that first couple of tiers there. Now I'm going to take some of the fabric that Jennifer sent me, and I've got 2 different patterns here. I'm just going to tear some small strips, make that into a bow, put one on top of the other, and then glue that to the neck of my vase. And that's just going to incorporate some of these really pretty fall colors.
So now I'm going to take this little doorknob hanger thingy from the Dollar Tree, and I just want the little pine cones. I was thinking of using the sweet little acorn, but it didn't quite work with what I wanted, and so I'm not going to use that. But I need something very light on the front here on those two tails for the F. I don't know what those are called. And so I'm just going to use those two little pine cones. I put a wood mushroom from the Dollar Tree in there. Now I'm going to take some hay bales. Those are going to go on the two L's on that front little leg at the front there. And then I took some Spanish moss. I'm going to put that in the bottom of one of the L's. And then I took two Dollar Tree mushrooms. I'm going to put both of them in there, but one of them I'm going to glue to the back of the box, and then that way it will stay snug as a bug in a rug. And I'm just going to kind of teeter those two together and glue those both down into that one single box. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take a couple of these acorns, also from Dollar Tree. I'm going to cut off the jute twine. I'll glue one into the back, and then I'll kind of teeter those as well. But the second one, I'm just going to kind of stick inside that little hole so that it stands diagonally in the corner. And then now I'm going to take a little gnome. These, I wouldn't be normally using these colors, but I was going to dress this up in some way for, you know, other projects. I love these little gnomes. And so I'm going to add some of that fabric to the bottom of his hat and give him a little bit of that same pattern. I'll tuck him right into the top part of that L. And then now for another portion, I took a little flower pot and these sunflowers, took some more of that reindeer or Spanish moss, and I'm going to poke it into the little wooden flower pot, and then I'm going to hot glue those sunflowers. I think I took 3 of them and just poke them into the little pot, and then I'm going to glue that pot into my little box area. And look how cute this is. It's turning out so cute. Because I need to keep my F kind of light on the side, I'm going to take one of these little Dollar Tree pumpkins, and this was the garland. So I'm going to put him on that second little leg of the F because it's nice and light. And then just to add some more orange, I wanted to take some of the elastic that Jennifer sent, and I'm going to hot glue that onto the top part of my little wooden pot. But this is not where I'm going to be using my elastic. I'll use more of that later. Now, the whole reason I even started this idea was to use these pumpkins in this project, but it kind of just grew into the fall portion. I was just going to do a little vignette with crates and hay and my little pumpkins. So now that we have our full, we need to make an A. So I'm going to use the random item from Jennifer's garage, this light socket thingy. I ended up not using the elastic again, but I'm going to use her fabric and then some wire from the Dollar Tree. It's really easily bendable, so this was perfect for this project. I'm just going to take some and make little feathers and then wrap it around at the bottom. And I'm going to do one kind of big one and then 2 smaller ones, 2 even smaller ones, and then 2 more little baby ones. I'm going to adjust the shape as we go and get those to be exactly how I want them once I get the basic shapes made. Now I want my fabric to alternate with the different fabrics, so I'm going to take the feathers that I want in one fabric and set those aside, and then I'll do the other fabric, and I want to kind of see where the pattern, or you know, if there's a pumpkin that I want to put on the feather, I'm going to cut that out and get it to the placement that I want so that it shows cutely. You see what I'm saying? So now I'm going to take some glue and I'm just going to go along the edge of my wire. I did pull up the end so that I was able to hold it. I don't know, these kind of reminded me of, you know, the Easter egg holders when you go to put your Easter eggs in the die. You know how it's got the little holder? Well, anyway, so that's what I made here, and we're going to use that glue, get it onto our fabric, and then let that dry. And then once it dries and I get all of my feathers put onto my fabric, I'm going to take my scissors and cut around those right at the very edge of my wire, and the blade of your scissors will kind of just run against the wire so you can get a really nice close cut. Now originally, in my original plan, I was going to use my orange elastic to go around each of my feathers, but I thought they were so cute and didn't need it, so I didn't want to mess it up. So now I'm going to take my light socket and I'm going to take a Dollar Tree piece of foam and I'm going to cut a little hole. I pushed it onto the socket so I could see where I needed to cut it out, and then I used my knife to get that little hole out. Now Michael J found these for me on Amazon. I will have these linked in the description box below, but they are battery operated. You can charge them. I'm going to put that into my socket and you can see it lights up, but these are really good for emergencies if the electricity goes out. And then I'm going to take the little makeup sponge that Jennifer sent me. We're going to use this for 2 different things. So I'm going to cut it in half first, and then on one side I'm going to cut a little kind of a thin piece, and then I'm going to cut that into a triangle, and then towards the back I'm going to cut that off so that it can go onto my light bulb at an angle. You'll see what I mean when I get to that point. And then I took some Dollar Tree ribbon and I'm going to make that into a little side part for, the turkey thing. I should have looked up what that's called, but you know what I mean. The little side piece that goes off of his beak. So now I'm going to take that little beak and I'm going to paint that with my Tuscan Sun chalk paint and then let that dry. And then I'm going to take my hot glue and attach that little side piece plus his beak. And now we're getting to our little turkey face here in just a second. Oh, look how cute that is. So now I'm going to take my Sharpie paint pen and I'm going to draw on some eyes to the light bulb, and then I'll put a couple of dots on his beak, just like a little turkey. Now these light bulbs emit no heat, so you can paint this, you can do whatever, and it's not going to hurt anything, and you can touch it after it's been lit for a long time. There's no heat whatsoever. And then I'll do a little highlight of his eye in each of the little eyeballs with my white paint pen. So now I'm going to start placing my feathers, and I'm just going to go how I showed you on my desk there and just get that all fanned out. And look at our little turkey. He's so cute. And I love his feathers. These colors I really do love. So now I'm going to take some more moss and I'm going to cover up that styrofoam using my hot glue. I'm going to do that all the way around and just cover all of those goodies up just so you can't see it, the white styrofoam. And then I took some hydrangeas or whatever these flowers are. I think they're hydrangeas in the pretty fall colors, the greens and the orange and off-white. I'm going to poke those into that styrofoam around my turkey, and I want to make sure that it doesn't cover up his sweet little face. So I'm just going to push those down as much as I can. And look at our little turkey. I love him so much. Anyway, here it is all finished all by himself. But then I'm going to add him to our little fall display. And here it is all lit up at night. All you have to do is twist your little head and he turns on and off. I didn't realize how bright this was going to be, so you can't even see his little face, but this is a really good light bulb, you guys. It's pretty potent. And look how sweet this turned out. And this is a nice big piece that you can use for a table centerpiece or against the wall, wherever you want, on a shelf. I think it would be really cute. I love how this turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. For this next project, I'm going to be using the 2-tiered decorative tray that Jennifer sent. You see it was only $5. I'm going to first put it together. It's super cute the way it is. I love this wood grain, but because this is for Thanksgiving and for the fall season, I'm going to take it up a little notch. I'm using these half beads from Amazon. I'll have them linked in the description box below, but I'm going to start gluing these to the side of my tray all the way around that rim, and I'm just using some hot glue. You could add permanent adhesive as well if you want, but I think these stay on pretty well. And so I'm just going to make sure that the top of my bead is flush with the top of that edge of my tray. So you'll have some hanging down over the bottom edge. Do you see what I'm doing here? And I want to make sure that I don't get as much glue. See where I put that glue right there? I should have done it a little bit lower where I did the second dot so that it doesn't come out the top. And you learn as you go, I guess. So I'm just going to adhere these all the way around that bottom tier, and then once I get to the end, 99% of the time it won't come out perfectly equal. Sometimes it does, but when you have a gap that's more narrow than the bead itself, you can just trim that off. Before I got these miter shears, which I'll have linked also below, I used to just use sandpaper and I would sand down one of the edges or both of the edges to fit that in between all of those beads. And when you do that, I always put that in the back of my tray or the back of whatever project you're adding beads to. And then on the top, I have these 12mm half beads. I'll also have these linked down below, and I'm gonna do the exact same thing. Now these will fit right in the middle of my tray. These are super, super small beads, and so, you know, I have my nails and I can't live without my nails, but for this project, I'm using my tweezers that I have from Cricut. These are the kind where when you squeeze it, they open up. And so that helps a lot, and it was a big help in getting these beads onto my tray. So once I have all of my beads on the bottom and the top, I'm going to disassemble it once again, and then I'm going to take the pole that goes down the middle, and I'm going to have Michael J spray paint that with my white Krylon spray paint. And I thought this was so genius. He took it outside and put it onto a screwdriver because it's hollow inside, obviously. So he just stuck it right into that crate and then put the beam right over it. So smart. He's so... I don't know. He just always amazes me. So now I'm going to take my white chalk paint and go around all of the edges of my tray. And there's a little lip on the top edge or the top rim you see there. I'm going to hit that as well, but I don't want this to be completely solid. I just want it to have some of that wood, you know, poking through so that you can see that pretty brown grain all around the edges of my tray. And I'll do that on the bottom tray and on the top one. So now I'm going to take some of my pumpkin chalk paint and I'm going to add some hazelnut in there to make a really pretty color that's supposed to resemble a pumpkin pie. And then I took some painter's tape and I'm just going to make a little triangle. I want this to look like a piece of pie taken out, you know, of the full pie, because these are going to become pies. And then I'm going to take my chalk paint mixture and I'm going to go around very lightly, again letting some of that wood peek through, and I'm trying to go in a circular motion so that, you know, you can tell that it's round and it looks like a pie. But I think this is so cute. And again, you know, I wouldn't have done this if it wasn't for what the assignment is for these fall projects. But because, you know, this already had the little pumpkin at the top, at first I was worried I was kind of ruining it, but I think it turns out so cute in the end. But this tray itself is just so adorable. It could have totally just been left the way it was, and I really wanted to make this into a project. So that's why I'm doing this. So I hope you don't think I ruined it. I think it's super cute. And so obviously you see the outside with the white, that's kind of the frosting on the pumpkin pie. And then I'm going to take my painter's tape off, and now it looks like a pumpkin pie with a piece taken out, don't you think? And then I'll just do the same thing on the smaller tier. And then in the middle, just to add a little dollop of whipped cream, I'm going to take my white chalk paint and just pounce it onto there. The first one, I should have left that little triangular opening there, but, you know, I figured it out on the second one. Learn as you go. So now I'm going to take this little banner that I pulled off of a spring sign from Dollar Tree. I had it in my stash, so it got a little crumpled up, and I'm going to take my mini iron that's so cute, and I'm going to get that kind of flattened down. Now it has the words welcome on there, but they're kind of lifted, so this is going to be the back. I'm going to use that same pumpkin color paint, and I'm going to do the back first. So the front is actually going to become the back so that you don't see those lifted letters. And then I'll paint again on the back, which is actually going to be the front, to make this sweet little banner that's going to look like a bunch of pieces of pumpkin pie. So now I'm going to be draping this on the top tier of my tray, but it didn't have the right angle and it kind of went too far down. So I'm going to give it a better angle to match my tray, you know, so that it goes where I want it to. So I'm just going to cut those little pieces apart, and then I'll re-glue them together to give it the arch that I want. And then I'm going to take some eyelet lace, some teeny weeny little eyelet lace from my stash, and I'm going to use that as the whipped cream or the crust or whatever, you know, the outside part of my little pies. And so I'm just going to use my hot glue and attach that to the very top of my banner. So now every piece of pumpkin pie should have a dollop of whipped cream in the middle. So I'm going to use this little baby's breath from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just taking the flat part of the flour. It's got two different pieces to each of those flowers. So I'm taking the bottom one and I'm just going to hot glue one into the middle of each of my pieces of pie, because you can never have too much whipped cream. So now I'm going to set my banner aside because that'll be the last thing we put together, and then I'll reassemble my tray. And oh my goodness, I just love this so much just as it is. And so we do have to add stuff to it. So I'm going to use this little pumpkin piece. I don't know where this is from. I think it came with some goodies, a Perky Prize that a sweet viewer sent me. I've made a printout of this Libby's pumpkin pie filling that I remember my mom, my grandmas used to use whenever they would bake pumpkin pies. And so I'm going to take a larger one. I couldn't get the whole thing, you know, because it's a can, so it's a little more narrow. So kind of to trick your eye or just make it a little cutie patootier, I'm going to take my bigger can and cut that right in half, and then I'll kind of crease it with my finger around the outside piece of my pumpkin and then cut that down, and I'll do that for both sides with my larger can. And then for the middle piece of my pumpkin, I'm going to use the smaller can and just cut an oval into that. And then I'm going to, oh, look how cute. I just love this so much. So I'm going to take my white chalk paint and paint this completely white. I'm going to sand it down just a little bit to let some of that pretty wood peek through, but not too much. I think it's so pretty, the bright white on top of the orange of my tray. So I'm also going to be painting the back of my pumpkin. I know I don't usually do that, but because it's a tray, you can sometimes see it from the back if it's like on an island or on a table. So I'm going to take my Mod Podge and a makeup sponge, and I'm going to spread that out over the top pieces, or the, you know, pieces that are coming out of my pumpkin, and I'll just put that all over that, all the way to the edges, and make sure that it's completely covered. And then I'm going to let that dry. And then I'll put my pieces of paper onto my wood, and then using my mini iron, I'm going to reactivate that glue of the Mod Podge, and my little pieces of paper will stick to my cute little pumpkin. I don't know, this brought back so many memories of, you know, any of our Thanksgiving holiday feasts that we used to have, and all the pies. And pumpkin pie was my mom's favorite. So even if it wasn't the holidays, we always had pumpkin pie in the house. And she didn't just make them. Well, she stopped making them after a while, but then we would just get them from Marie calendars. I don't know if you guys have those. Anyway, so now I'm going to take a little crate and I'm going to paint that completely white with my Waverly White chalk paint. And I'm going to do the sides, the three sides. This is going to go upside down. So I'm going to do the sides completely white, and then one of the strips, I'm going to make this look like a little stack of books because I didn't have anything that would fit. I'm using this crate because my tray is a little bit smaller than like a normal stack of books that you would get at the Dollar Tree. You know, they have the fall cute ones that are already done up, and that would have been cute to just add to it, but it didn't fit. So I'm going to go ahead and make my own. So I'm using that same pumpkin color. I made one a little bit lighter than the regular pumpkin color that I had, so I just added a little bit of white, and then I made the actual pumpkin color be on the top of my book stack so that it wasn't right against my tray, and then it would just kind of get lost. You see what I'm saying? And then to make it look like a stack of books, I'm going to take my paintbrush and just kind of make those spines go in a little bit so that you can tell that these are really little books. I mean, they're not, but you know, faux books. And then to cover up the top, because I do have those separations in my crate, I'm going to use some Dollar Tree burlap, and I just doubled it over, and then I'm going to hot glue that to the top of the book so that that looks like the cover. And then to give my book the look of pages, like there's pages here, I'm going to take my pencil and make a bunch of little lines going across both sides, and then the back side, you know, where the book would open up. And then I'm going to take a towel and rub across it so that it kind of softens those lines and it doesn't look like pencil. It just looks like a faux book. So now I'm going to take my sandpaper and get that all sanded down so it's nice and distressed. And these crates, they have a little bit of splintery leftovers on them, so I just went in between and made them all nice and soft so you don't get any splinters from, I don't know, reading the book. And then I'm going to take my paint pen and actually, no, this is a brown Sharpie, and I'm going to write pumpkin pie and Jesus Christ. Now, I did it in my own handwriting. You could do this with your cutting machine, or you could do the transfer method where, you know, you copy it on the computer in whatever fonts you want and then trace it onto your piece. I didn't love my handwriting, but you know what? Hey, it's handmade and it gets the point across. So now I'm going to take 2 Dollar Tree stainless bowls and then some floral foam. I'm going to hot glue one of them into the bottom of my pan, or my pot, what are these called? Bowls. And then the bottom of my bowls are kind of rounded, so it's not going to go all the way in there. So you just want to get the glue on the sides, and then that'll attach to the bowl. And then I'm going to stack the other bowl, cut down my other piece of floral foam, and then I'm going to take some lamb's ear from Walmart and start tucking that in between my 2 bowls. Now what I should have done was made my leaves a little bit smaller, and I'd end up pushing them in a little bit more because it was really hiding my bottom bowl. It still does, but these lamb's ears are kind of big, so if you can find another type of greenery to tuck in there, that would be even better if it's smaller. And so anyway, I'm going to use some more of the Spanish moss, and then I took some of the white hydrangeas. So this is my version of like some batter of some sort, because we have this baking theme going on. So now one thing I didn't have was a pumpkin pie. So I'm going to make one using some Walmart drop cloth and then some ribbon. And I didn't know what to use for the trim for the frosting. So I'm going to end up deciding on this white one that you see here, the rope looking one. And I have this empty spool from some 5/8 ribbon from the Dollar Tree, and so that's what's going to be my little pumpkin pie, because that's actually all that would fit on my top tier. So I'm going to take some batting and I'm just going to get it a little foofier. I know pumpkin pies are usually flat, but I wanted to give this a little bit of bumpity bumps, so you know, it was a little softer. So I'm going to take my drop cloth and cut around my spool, and then I'm going to start gluing that onto the bottom side of the spool and just gather it around and get that all covered up. Now, one thing I should have done, and if you guys do this, because I think it's so sweet, and you'll see it's super, super cutie patootie, but a pie, you know how it is kind of concave and it's narrower or smaller at the bottom. I should have cut off the bottom part of my spool, you know, just cut around the bottom part so that it went in on the sides. But, you know, I didn't think about it until later, and then I didn't want to redo it because it was still super cute. It just looks more like a, I don't know, a pedophore or a big fat cookie. So it's still cute, but I'm going to take my pumpkin paint and start painting on top of my drop cloth, and I'll end up adding a little bit more because there's not enough on here. I'll do that in a second. But then to cover the sides to make it look like the crust, I'm going to use my Dollar Tree burlap ribbon, and I'll just hot glue that all the way around the outside of my pie. And then to make it easier to attach to the bottom, I just went around and made little slits all the way to the bottom part of my spool, and then I'm going to cut that burlap down, and then I'll use my hot glue to attach it to the bottom of my pie. And then here's where I'm adding some more of my pumpkin paint, and I'm just going to pounce that all over the top. And then I'll add my white cording with some hot glue right at the corner where the burlap and the pie comes together. And I'll just go all the way around. And I was worried about the dark orange matching too much with the tray itself and that it would get lost. But once I put the white piping on there, it looks really good and you can totally see it. And plus I'm going to lift it up with a little Jenga block so that it's kind of at an angle. You'll see that in just a second. So now I'm going to use these little pumpkins that Jennifer sent me, and I end up using these on a couple of projects. I'm going to take that and paint a few with my white chalk paint, and I'm going to use that as my dollop in the middle of my pumpkin pie. And then I found these little mixing spoons or measuring spoons, and I thought I got them at Dollar Tree, but they're really heavy, so I don't think it's Dollar Tree. I might have got them at like the Goodwill or something. I'm going to use that in my tray. And then I also took a long piece of cinnamon. I'm going to cut that down into thirds, and then I'm going to use some green and white baking twine from the Dollar Tree, and I'm just going to wrap that around all three of those little sticks. And these smell so good, so anytime you can add cinnamon to any tray or decor, I think that is so good because it's not just sight, it can also be smell. And then I'll just make a sweet little bow to keep those together. And so now that we have all of the pumpkin pie covered, now we have to add some Jesus Christ. So I'm just using this Dollar Tree cross, and there was a piece on the inside. I used that for something else in another project. So I'm just going to use my white chalk paint and paint this white, and that'll go on the bottom tier of my tray. And then once I get all of my pretties pretty much in the position that I want them, I'll hang my banner off to the side and let it hang down so it doesn't, cover everything up. But it is done. And here it is all finished. And I love how this turned out so much. It brings back a lot of nostalgic memories from Thanksgivings past. I love this tray. Again, it would have been pretty just the way it was, but I had to do something to it to make this more of a project for Thanksgiving. But I love how this turned out, and I hope you guys like it too. So now it's time to use my wood item, and I'm using this coffee cup, or it looks like a Starbucks type thing, but I keep my chipboard from signs when I take stuff off, so I have a little collection of them. And remember, it's not hoarding if you use it. And so I'm going to kind of get all of my pieces together. I didn't end up using the little pumpkin, but I'll just set that aside and use for another time. So I'm going to pull off the paper from some of these. Some of them, they wouldn't come up, so I just painted over it. And then I'm going to use two of these Dollar Tree signs, the long ones. I'm going to take the pretties off of this. And again, this paper didn't come off very well, so it doesn't matter. I'm going to use the backs anyway for the front. So I'm going to use my heat gun to get the stickies off and pull the jute twine hangers out. And then I'm going to kind of mark which ones are going to be black and which ones are going to be white, because I'm going to paint two different colors. I get confused, so I have to write things down in order to remember them. So here you see I have all of my white items on one painting surface, and then all of my black ones will be on this other surface. So I'm going to cover up my holes with some no, that's not Dollar Tree, but just some spackle, and then I'll start painting my white ones first. I've got the square, the circle, and then that little arch, and then my two signs, my coffee cup, and then this long piece, that's going to be all in black. And I'm using my Faux Sloan paintbrush. I'll have this linked in the description box below. That's from Amazon. And so it gives a really nice texture when you paint larger surfaces. And so I am going to paint the back of my coffee cup as well. So don't forget to do that. And so I'm going to first take my circle. Now, it didn't cover the printing or the little design that was on there very well, so I'm going to address that in just a second. So I'm going to take my little curved piece and mark where I need to cut that rounded piece off, and then I'm going to use a Dollar Tree flour sack towel, and I'm going to hot glue that onto that rounded surface there. This is going to be a little hat, so I'm going to hot glue it onto the back, and it's doubled over because this is really see-through, and so I needed 2 plies to cover up that design on the sign. And I had given it a couple of coats, I think 3 coats actually, and I could still see bloom where you are planted, or whatever the pretty message was. So I'm going to gather it in the front and hot glue that down, and then I'll cut off the excess with my big fat scissors. I'll have these linked as well, because you can cut anything with these, and I've had them for years and years. And then I'm going to take some hot glue and attach that little arch to the bottom of my hat. And then now that my sign is black, I'm going to attach my hat to the top of my sign. Now what I should have done, and again, do as I say, not as I do, is I should have painted the top portion of my sign where it's going to be flesh colored for a face. I should have done that before I put my hat on, but learn as you go. So I mixed up some paint. I think it was French linen and some white to make, I guess, kind of a flesh color. I don't know. It was just a pretty beigey color, and I'm going to paint that loosely onto the top part of my sign. And I'm going to end up sanding all of this down at the end so it doesn't have to have perfect coverage. So now I'm going to take my coffee cup and then that long rectangle, and on the back I'm going to attach that to the bottom, which is the top of my cup. And now we have a little pilgrim's hat. Do you see what I'm saying here? So now I want these guys to be kind of the same height. You know, the hat's going to be taller and so forth, but for the man, I'm going to make his head, you know, I'm going to paint his face before I put his hat on because I learned from the first time. And then the little square chipboard that I painted white, I'm going to use some pure gold apple barrel paint and put a little buckle around the edge. And then I measured where the strap would go around his hat. So, you know, I had my little piece there so I could see how wide the white part of the buckle was, and then that'll be the little brim, or not the brim, you know, the little piece that goes around his hat. So you see it matches up here. So now I'm going to take some white paint after all the other paints are all dry, and I'm going to make a little collar for my sweet little girl pilgrim. And hopefully this doesn't look like a bathing suit top. And now that I said that, you probably think it does, huh? And then I made an apron, but she started to look like a little French maid. So I made it more square to hopefully not give her a figure. And then I took 2 more of my little pumpkins that Jennifer had sent. I'm going to make those little buttons. And then I'm going to glue my pilgrim hat to the top of my boy pilgrim. So now I'm going to take my white chalk paint again, and I'm going to give my boy pilgrim a little collar, and his is more manly because it's more angled and not rounded and sweet like the girls. And then I'm going to give him a little hairdo, you know, kind of like a bowl cut. And just, I'm using my hazelnut paint to do this. So I just went down on the sides and then gave him some bangs. And then for the girl, I'm going to give her some bangs and just make them sweet and curved also. Kind of like with a little part in her hair, you know. And then I took another wood half bead and I'm gonna hot glue those down to make their little sweet little button noses. And then to make their eyes, I'm gonna use my black paint pen and just make little slits, or, you know, little kind of ovals, just really small and sweet. And then I took my pink stamp pad and I'm gonna use a sponge to give them some rosy little cheeks, and their faces are done. And then I started sanding with just a regular piece of Dollar Tree sandpaper, but that kept getting eaten up really quickly. So I'm going to actually take it outside and use my cordless sander so that I can get, you know, well, I can make quicker work of it, and it got it really sanded nicely. So once I get that all done, I'm going to take my white paint pen, and on the boy, I'm going to put give thanks, and I'll do that with my faux calligraphy where you make the downstrokes a little bit thicker. Again, you can use your vinyl cutting machine, or you could do the transfer method using chalk on the back and then trace it onto the front of his shirt, or, you know, the black part of the pilgrim. And then I'll use a black paint pen to put in everything on the girl's apron. And then I'll put at the bottom 1 Thessalonians 5:18. And here's how this sweet little pair turned out. I know it's a lot of work for just one of my items. Well, I used the little pumpkins as her buttons too, but I just didn't want him to be alone, so I had to make him a little wifey. But I love how these turned out, and I love the message in giving thanks in everything, not for everything, but in every circumstance. You've heard me talk about that before. I love this, and I hope you guys like it too. For this project, I ended up not being able to use the orange elastic or those stickers. I had them planned for a couple of the previous projects, but sometimes you just gotta say less is more, and it just didn't work out. So I'm gonna use all of my leftovers for this final project. So I'm gonna take this round wood from Dollar Tree, and I got all the ickies off, and I'm gonna use my painter's tape to make a stripe down the middle. Now, usually I eyeball everything, and I'm usually pretty on, but this time I just totally spaced it. I'm going to be using the Happy Harvest stickers, but I had cut this out before, but I didn't realize how large or maybe how skinny my stripe was. So I wanted this to fit in the white section of my little plaque. And so to use this sticker, it has some like sparkly edging on it, and I didn't want to use that in this project. So I went ahead and used my scissors to cut that all off of there. And then I had to make my stripe a little bit wider. So I just did the same thing and corrected my mistake. You can do anything with paint, and it's always fixable. So I'm going to make that a little bit wider, and now it fits the width of my sticker, which is no longer a sticker anymore because it's double-sided, or it's 2-ply. You know, when you cut these apart, they're kind of like puffy stickers. So when you take them apart, the adhesive comes off of the back. So anyway, after I painted my stripe, I'm going to kind of measure, and again, I'm just eyeballing this to make almost like a starburst. I want this to be a turkey, and so I'm going to take some chalk paint in crimson, and then I'm also going to use some celery. And then I wasn't sure which color I was going to use for the middle feather, but I'm going to paint the bottom first. And I did that with a mixture of chalk paint, and I used some Pool, and I cannot remember the name of the other paint, but I'll put it in the description box below. And so I'm going to paint that bottom portion of my sign, because I'm also going to be using the wrapping paper that Jen used and wrapped my challenge items in. It's actually not wrapping paper, it's 12 by 12 scrapbooking paper. So I want to incorporate some of that tealy color in the paper. So I tried to mix it as well as I could to get a color match for that tealy color. Anyway, and then so that middle feather I ended up painting in Tuscan Sun. So now I'm going to take that paper and kind of make an indentation with my finger again to see where I need to cut that out. I want to have a piece of the paper and then paint and then paper and then paint, and you see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to use my Mod Podge, and after I got all of those pieces cut out, I'm going to put that on there the same way we did with our pumpkin. So I'm going to let that Mod Podge dry, and then I'll iron on those pieces of paper onto my board. So now I'm finally going to use that elastic, and I'm just going to make that a line across where my paper and paint come together with that white center stripe, and I'll just hot glue it on the back, pull it around, hot glue it on the other side, and then hot glue it here and there on the inside or in the middle of my elastic to make sure that it stays snug as a bug in a rug. And now I'm going to use that same glue to attach my sticker, which is not a sticker, and I'll just use a makeup sponge to push that all the way around on the back of this little piece. It's like a plasticky stuff, and then that way it'll get in all those nooks and crannies and attach nicely to my board. So here's the other half of my makeup sponge that Jen sent me, and I painted this with the Tuscan Sun when I painted the other little beak. And so I painted that, and then it's completely dried out. I'm going to mark where I'm going to put it, and then I'm going to take my crimson paint and again paint a little whatchamacallit thingy right there, and just, you know, freehand that on there, and then I'm going to hot glue my beak to the board, and our turkey is taking form. So now I'm going to draw on his little eyes, and I'm just going to do 2 little ovals, and then I'll do smaller pupils, you know, in the black, and then I'll take my white paint pen and give them the little highlights. Now, I don't know how, or I should have been copying some eyes on Pinterest or something, because I made them look mad. He looks really mad. And then I was thinking, I was trying to figure out how can I make him happy, but then I was thinking, well, you know what? It's Thanksgiving. He's a turkey, so I might be an angry bird too. So anyway, I'm going to put those 2 dots on his little beak as well, and then he's got his sweet little face, well, angry face. Now I've got this plate stand, and I pulled this out, and I didn't want to put little holes or make this a sign because I didn't want to go through my scrapbooking paper. So I decided instead, when I put him on this, it was really cute because the little curly cues kind of looked like little feet. So I decided to pull out some orange felt, and then I drew on some little, I don't know, just kind of cartoony feet, and then glued it to the fronts of those little swirlies. And I just think it's so stinking cute, but wait till you see it in just a second. And if I didn't have my music playing in the background, I would have played you the audio from me giggling once I saw it. Anyway, here it is all finished, and I love how this turned out. This was my extra project just to get rid of the other items that I wasn't able to use in the previous projects, and then a little extra credit with the wrapping that Jennifer sent. Anyway, I love it, and I hope you guys like it too. I hope you guys enjoyed all of these projects, and if you did, don't forget to give them a thumbs up, comment, let me know what you think. If you're not already, I hope you'll consider hitting that subscribe button down below, as well as the little bell right next to it, so that you can be notified every time I upload a brand new video. Don't forget to check out the playlist. I'll have it linked below. I hope everyone has a blessed day, and remember to always be the light. Bye!